Welcome, seekers of the unknown, as we pull back the veil between the living and beyond. Unraveling questions that plague our minds, and oftentimes presenting the evidence that may prove them true. Let us take you on a journey where paranormal becomes normal, and where what is right behind you just might be echoes of the afterlife or something more. But fair warning, once you step into the supernatural with us, you might just stay haunted.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stay Haunted.
Hello. Happy
Monday. Ho.
Hear us.
I brought my Santa vibe tonight.
You did.
Yes.
Love it.
So I've got something I want to add to the intro, right? Because you didn't do anything paranormal this weekend. We didn't do anything paranormal this weekend. But there's something that I want to share once you share with what you did this weekend, Todd.
So you go first. Okay.
All right. So yeah, we had a quiet weekend. Well, I didn't have so much of a quiet weekend. Carmela had a nice at-home weekend, quiet baking. So I, with one of the paranormal, Rich Michella, who we've investigated with through the Morris County Park System, he had reached out. They do, the Morris County Park Commission in North Jersey does, it's called Farm Festival Holiday Living Historical Farm Event. Basically, they have a farm, living animals and stuff like that they put on an event. It was over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and they needed a Santa Claus. And as you can see, I've taken on that role recently. And so I went and played Santa Claus for the weekend and met with all the little boys and girls and got some Christmas lists and spent some quality time with them. It was a great event and appreciate the opportunity to do it. Probably will do it again for the foreseeable future as long as they need it. Need a Santa. So
You're gonna have to keep growing your beard in, no cutting it.
Yeah, no. So I and that's the thing. So like I think I started growing this probably in, when do you think, Laura? October? Because I keep the goatee, then it's just a matter of letting this grow in. So, but
I think we see what that looks like by next Christmas if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can let it go that long, Chris.
Because
I'm follically challenged, so I don't like to, I don't like having this up here. So it starts tickling.
Usually guys that look like that up top look like ZZ Top down here.
Yeah. But it starts tickling my nose and stuff.
Put like a little cute bow in there.
We could like put Christmas bows and stuff. She's
Go
ahead. Little braid my beard and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that? So while Santa was out visiting the children, Mrs. Claus was home baking cookies and soup and baking stromboli breads and all kinds of goodies for Santa.
Awesome.
To get Santa ready for the big night.
That's right. So you just got to grow this out and grow this out.
Yeah. So that was our weekend. We had a relatively quiet weekend. So how was your weekend?
We had a relatively quiet weekend. Spent, Sunday night with family. Saturday night, we, of course, watched the Ohio State-Indiana game, but didn't turn out the way we wanted it to.
No, we were right there with you, being Ohio State fan. So we were disappointed as well. So,
but the good news is, because they both ended up ranked 1 and 2, and with the college playoffs, they could see each other again for the national title. And if that happens, no telling what happens. So that's basically what we did.
Yeah, and like we talked before the show, it was almost like that was a national championship game in a sense, almost like a preview if they do make it back and to play each other again. So
Please.
I would really like a dragon.
I know.
I'll see if I can work on that, Mary Beth.
We need to send our letters in to Santa.
So the reason I wanted you to tell your story is because I'll tell this story. My father always told me it doesn't matter how much you have, it doesn't matter what you buy, it doesn't matter what material possessions you have. The only thing that you leave to this world when you leave is what people thought about you. And what Todd just did is a perfect example of, we tell you guys what Stay Haunted is about. It's not just about going out and capturing spirits and, chasing things, trying to get that evidence. It's about the friendships that you form. It's about the impact that you make on people in your life, right? That's what Stay Haunted means. It's about integrity. It's about truth. It's about being genuine, keeping that in balance with the paranormal. The reason I wanted you to share that is because I've got something very personal to share with you guys. I was sitting here today thinking about my father. My father passed in 2006, right? And our cousin shares us this on Facebook. This article was posted on the Peru State College board this week, actually this morning. And this is my father in 1975 when he was the sheriff back in Peru, Nebraska. This is the impact my father left on people in their lives. 50 years later, they're still posting and thanking him for what he did for the school. And it says approximately 50 years ago, this was one of the features in the paper. And it says, "Thank you, Sheriff Howard Allgood, for keeping Peru and the Peru State College safe." And what really moved me was there's all kinds of comments underneath this of people that knew my father back then, talking about what a great guy he was. And this totally goes in line with what Todd just did this weekend by taking his entire weekend and playing Santa Claus and making those little kids still believe. And to me, that is huge because, that we've got plenty of kids and stuff out there. And, for years at the company that I worked with in Phoenix, I did a toy drive every year for Christmas. And one of those reasons is there were times that my parents didn't have money, right? And I'll stop sharing this. But there were times that my parents didn't have money and we had to go without a Christmas. Right? So I think Christmas is huge, but I think the bigger thing is, and I wanted to thank Todd for this, and now my father that came up today, it's weird how the universe aligns itself, right? I was going to brag on Todd today, and then my father came up, and it reminded me the two are aligned because the impact that you make on the planet today with your inner spirit is what you leave behind when you leave.
50 years later, they'll be going, Santa.
And 50 years later, they'll be talking about that Santa Claus.
Yeah.
They had all their friends at school telling them Santa didn't exist, and they got to meet him with his white eyebrows and his big white beard, and they actually got to talk to Santa Claus. So, Todd, huge hand out to you. Yeah. You're making an impact to where 50 years from now, somebody's going to be.
And it does tie into, I kind of reflected on that. I just a little bit after the fact. I think today when I was working, when I had some downtime, and I was like, and I think I even said to you, like, I had kids come up to me, like little kids, run up and hug me. There were some that were, still that first visit that were a little nervous, looking at me like side eye, like, what's this big guy with the beard and stuff like that, a little bit nervous, apprehensive. But to try and just talk with them and come down to the, try to get into their level of thought as a child, and just to try to make them feel comfortable. And that's what the Christmas spirit is about.
Well, maybe you should wear it all the time, because a lot of children run away from you when you're not. I remember the kids when they were little, the kids' friends would say, "Aren't you scared of your dad?" He would come in with a prison look.
Yeah, I would come in.
She doesn't lie. We've seen it.
Yeah, he comes in with a prison.
But yeah, just
wear that outfit all the time. Watch what I say.
But yeah, it would, it made me feel good, and it was nice to be out there. And it was, it was on a farm, you're with animals and stuff. And I like being outside in nature and stuff like that too. So that's, so it was a nice weekend for that. So, and, and like you said, with you, when you shared that with us earlier today, that was a nice tribute to, to your to your dad and, his character and wonderful memories that you're able to, that got shared with you.
Yep.
And, it's always tough around the holidays. So, when we lose loved ones and stuff like that, but
so I tell everybody, watch, it's the little signs.
Yep.
That you got to pay attention to. Everybody waits for the burning bush. They're waiting for somebody to run across water to prove that your family's with you. It's the little signs. I'm telling you right now, I was thinking about my dad this morning and my cousin posted that. You can't tell me that's not a sign. That's not him saying hello.
no.
So anyway, but
Hello.
that's the impact your actions are going to leave, Todd. Good job, brother. Good job.
Thank you very
wanna sit
much.
here and co-host?
Here's Miss
Oh,
Lacey.
That's awesome.
Ron being funny. Hello, Mr. Ron and Lourdes and Mary Beth and Raul and everybody else in chat. We thank you very much for being here.
Santa's favorite drink is cocoa and Dos Cocoa.
Ho, ho, ho.
That's not Todd's favorite drink, but we won't go there.
Yeah, so it was Lacey.
She
What are
may
you
push
doing?
buttons on the
Lacey's
keyboard
now got her nose on the keyboard trying to like tap in messages, I think, to everybody.
So real fun fact, guys, before we invite and I talk about our guest who's amazing. What's really cool is you saw the badge that was on my father's hat from 50 years ago. That badge is sitting about 3 feet that direction in a shadow box that is also with my great-great-grandfather's badge, and it has my patches and my ID for my sheriff's uniform all in a shadow box sitting up on the shoulder, right over my right shoulder here. So that's pretty cool. So what's really trippy is that 50-year-old picture. That badge is right over here to my right, which is amazing.
Awesome. Very awesome.
Very, very, very.
Yep. Any kids cry?
Any kids? Yes, we did have. Yes. Yeah, who was that? That was Raul? Yes, Raul. I did have a couple kids cry. Some were a little apprehensive.
But it was right after he showed him your picture. Just kidding, Raul.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No joke. The picture of Todd as Santa Claus looks fake as fuck.
It does, doesn't it?
That
It
one I took
really
me.
does. Was it like a filter?
You're the
No.
Santa
It was, I think it was just
too.
the angle, Lourdes. It was just because it looked like my
face was
cheeks.
this big.
Yeah,
and it
was
looked really like shiny.
It was shiny. It was like I had rosy cheeks. Yeah, we sent it in the group chat with us, right? And Lourdes was like, I look fake as fuck. She's like,
You look like the Santa Claus from Santa Claus 2 with Tim Allen.
yeah, with Tim Allen. Actually, that's
got
a
a plastic tushy. All right, guys.
Hey there, 305 Jen and Mondo. Thanks for tuning in. All right, let's get to our awesome guest this evening. Enough about us.
So, guys, I'm going to introduce this gentleman to you. I'm going to read his bio first, but you're going to have to give me a minute, and it might take me a few breaths because this gentleman is amazing. We've had him on past podcasts. Now we have him on Stay Haunted, and we've been waiting for this for a while now. Tonight, guys, we have James Annitto. He's a renowned demonologist, author, and paranormal investigator. He is a renowned demonologist, author, paranormal investigator with a career spanning over 2 decades. He has been actively investigating the paranormal since 2004, bringing a unique combination of analytical thinking, psychological insight, and spiritual understanding to his work. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and is currently pursuing his master's degree to deepen his understanding of the human mind. Luck with that.
I know.
I'm just
More power
kidding.
to you.
Relation to life, death, and the afterlife. In addition, in his paranormal work, James is a project manager and estimator for an HVAC company, construction brother. With over a decade of experience in construction, he leverages his professional and academic background to approach serious hauntings with both precision and empathy, helping those affected navigate complex situations. He's been involved with numerous organizations, initiatives within the paranormal. He founded the Dominion Ministry, co-created the demonology lecture duo demonology with Carl Johnson. Everybody knows Carl, right? Co-partnered in the production of True Evil, a short-lived true crime and paranormal podcast, alongside criminologist Laura Brand. He collaborated with the Roman Catholic priest Father Bob Bailey. We've had Father Bob on the show on their lecture series of Faith and Reason. He's a lifelong enthusiast of the unknown. James formerly served in the New League as a New England supervisor for the Psychological Research Group in Canada and USA, and maintains a keen interest in ufology and cryptozoology. For over 12 years, he has lectured across the United States and abroad on topics related to demonology and the paranormal. including leading the 2022 tour in Romania, exploring the geographical roots of Dracula.
Mm.
Ooh,
That would be so cool.
that bites. No, I'm just kidding. Bum, right? James frequently appears on YouTube, radio, podcasts, Stay Haunted, and occasionally on television. He shares his insights in the mysterious. He's also the author of 2 upcoming books, The Psychological Dimensions of the Paranormal, to be released this year, The History of Demonology, to be released in 2026. And for those interested in learning more, James encourages direct contact or listening to his in-depth conversations on the paranormal. Guys, this gentleman is phenomenally respected, not just by us, but a lot of people in the paranormal community. Everybody say hello to James.
Hey,
Well,
guys.
Oh,
That was a tongue twister, huh?
Woo!
You made Chris earn his money tonight.
With that, $5. Too bad I don't get paid for that. That would have been a payout.
Yeah, right? You should read my book. Not just kidding.
All right, James. So what we like to start the show out is starting with explain to everybody that doesn't know you that's watching, because there's quite a few people on here watching that do, but explain to people that don't know you that's watching what got you started in the paranormal and led to the demonology portion of it.
Yeah, so keep a very tall story short. Basically, I would like to say I would be different than most people when I hear they get involved in paranormal. I never had experience. It was just a fascination based off of being an atheist as a child because of traumatic situations that happened in my life. So my kind of deep dive into theology and religion and science kind of led me to the paranormal. You know, I also grew up watching many of the shows like Unsolved Mysteries, Tales of the Crypt, In Search of by Leonard Nimoy. And so a lot of that kind of collaborated in my mind in the sense that I was interested in exploring it. And at 14, on the cusp of 15, so basically 15 years old, I started investigating with the local surroundings of New England, or I should say Rhode Island. But yeah, so God kind of got me involved in it. And then as far as demonology, God kind of got me in that as well. But I, eventually found my faith and started being a pastoral assistant at a local church, and started working with Carl Johnson at a very young age, and getting involved with him as his tech manager. And then that kind of catapulted me into wanting to do demonology and furthering my knowledge. And now here we are in soon to be 2026.
Right.
Right.
A very long time, but so that's a short way of saying it. But yeah, no, it's like, I think at the end of the day is what hit my heart, and I really wanted to touch upon this because it kind of made me like tear up inside. But when you guys were talking about what Todd did as Santa, and of course your father, at the end of the day, it's like that's what I, not hope or want to be remembered for the things that I do. It's not that I am a demonologist, but I want people, the families that I've helped, I want them to always remember that moment that there was somebody there to be there for them, just like a Santa Claus or your dad as a sheriff. So, I'm not either Santa or a sheriff, but I am me. And, I want to make that impact on people. And
Right.
I feel like I have, and I feel like I have a lot more to do though. And that's hopefully how I am remembered, for helping people with their afflictions or their confusions.
Ron said you make one hell of a pizza.
Yes, to stay on that story, because I love Ron. Speaking of my first book, The Psychological Dimensions of the Paranormal, which is out now on Amazon, actually,
Nice.
on Halloween. But he actually wrote the foreword, and I of course love Lords. They both so during when COVID first happened. Everybody was scared to get together. I'm a nimwit, so I don't really care. I'm young. Hopefully I could fight it off. But Ron and a bunch of people came down to Rhode Island to investigate the Conjuring House. and they were trying to look for things to do, and I said, well, I love cooking for people. Speaking of Carmela, cooking, baking, or whatever, I was like, that's my soul right there. But I love cooking for people. I love camaraderie. I love having jubilant laughter. And so I said, yeah, come to my house. There's like 8 of them. And, my house ain't small, but still, like, 8 people, clustered in the dining room. It's like, so yeah, I said, come over. I'm not worried about it. If I get sick, it's whatever, at that point, there was enough research to know about kids not really getting COVID. So I was like, okay, yeah, come over. And so they had him over. I made 2 pizzas or 1 pizza. I think it was 2 pizzas, and then I ordered 2 pizzas. And I didn't do that to like compete. I didn't want to make 4 pizzas. So
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work
that goes into it.
So I ordered 2 pizzas. I made 2 pizzas, and they loved definitely more than the pizza that I made. And that's always a running joke every time he sees me. It tells people about me, that I'm the best pizza maker in Rhode Island.
That's awesome. But that's true para-unity right there. It's like, hey, y'all are here doing an investigation. I like to make pizza. Come on over to my house.
Yeah,
it might be tight, but we'll get you all in here and we'll squeeze in. That's fantastic.
And the good thing about that group, most of them, if not all of them, actually, they're great people. Of course, Ron and Lords are amazing people. If you've ever met them, they open their arms up and welcome you as family. And so it's the respect you're given is the respect you give back, right? So I love them to death.
Yeah. Some of our closest, bestest friends. Yeah.
We are blessed to call them good friends. So we're very fortunate. So James, in your journey, in your paranormal journey, and your faith and exploration into the paranormal, and then kind of down to the path of demonology, investigations and stuff. What was your first, if you can recall, like when you were kind of being indoctrinated or kind of going down that path? Do you recall, or what was your first, kind of experience with, I guess, a family? If you can, as much as you can talk about it that you wish to share that might be memorable for you.
Yeah, so for a long time I was just I like to call a hobbyist, right, or a ghost hunter. That's the difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter. Ghost hunter is a hobbyist; they do it for fun. They're not maybe doing it for themselves, but they're not doing it for the greater good. They're not doing it for families. So for a long time, that's what I was. I'd go to cemeteries. New England is a brush of history. So right across the street is where Roger Williams was buried, which was the founder of Rhode Island, right across the street, legitimately. And, of course, behind my house is a historical cemetery dating back to like 1802, 1786. So history's everywhere. So that's where I did for a long time. But really, like how it unfolded in dealing with residentials or homeowners or business owners, was that I became acquainted with a guy named Andre Corrier. God rest his soul. He passed away a couple of years ago. But Andre Corrier had worked with Carl Johnson and on an episode called Demon Attack on Animal Planet for the Haunted. And so they worked together, paranormal drama 20 years ago, same thing. People think it's new, but it's been around for 20 plus years. And so 20 years ago or so, they probably not as long ago, probably like 15 years ago, but 15 years ago they had a falling out. It was a group called RIPS, Rhode Island Paranormal Society. Andre fell out. We collaborated with a couple of different people, some former members, some new people that have always been interested in trying to do it as a team effort instead of like a social thing. So we created a group called Ghost Hunters of Supernatural Truth, Ghost. And that's when we started doing residentials as well. Like we would still go out to like places like Anawan Rock and, of course, the Bridgewater Triangle areas and drive there, and Hockomock Swamp, some pretty well-known areas. But we got a call. Andre got a call about a case that was happening at an old barn, old house that had some remodels done, and they were experiencing some things, and they had a horse farm once there, and it was known for what we found out from the family digging the history is that a girl had fell off her horse and been trampled. And so, they were having experiences, and this was my first time doing a residential. This is even before I met Carl, worked with Carl. And I still will always remember this because, like, to me, I have to see it to believe it kind of person. That's just how my mind processes things. Unfortunately, it's not that I don't disagree with people. I just have to see it to believe it. Right. And so, Stephen Pacheco was his name. He was with me, Andre. I believe it was Alex at that time, and we're out in the field, the horse field, where they would trounce around, and all of a sudden, Steve, who was quite healthy, as far as I know from what he explained, he was a health nut, so it's kind of explanatory. But he just started coughing, and then all of a sudden he coughed up blood, and we were like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, of course we think it's physical at first, but then when we asked, like, because the one of the daughter of the homeowner that was having the most experiences, we asked her to come out, like, we marked it and stuff like that. We put like a piece of equipment there so we remembered where it happened, and she's like, yeah, that's supposedly where the girl got trampled on. And we were like, well, of course, like, she could have made that up, but still, even if it was the truth, which likely, why was he just coughing up? We were asking questions, and that was interesting. Even though it was a negative, so to say, it was still helping somebody better understand that they weren't crazy, that there actually could be something going on there. And we got other things too on video and audio, but that was still a remarkable thing. I know it's not scary. Well, in some way, it can be if it's the person you're the person that's happening, right? Yeah. That is scary. So it's like that was probably one of my, if not actually the first residential experience where something like that had happened. And I would say another one would be where this was, beyond this. Really there wasn't much more that was spectacular, like you're watching a movie. But case probably about 6 years ago, I actually got to see scratches manifesting on somebody's legs. It was a homeowner, this older gentleman, and I tend to record audibly. I wish visually, but I'm very uncomfortable with that. It's like somebody videoing like a therapist session. They don't do that. Right. So it's like, we have it on audio, but it's TJ, Mandy Brown, and myself. I think might have been one other person, but TJ's looking at the gentleman who was being affected the most. It was probably a couple in their 60s, late 60s. And TJ's watching here. And I told him, because he was new at doing this, I was like, I'm going to interview, answer the questions, and, and then he's gonna you're gonna watch his body movements, see if he's touching himself, see if he has any weird twitches that you can make note of. And Mandy, who was to me a true real medium, and she's proven me wrong so many times in a good way, is that she was across and she's doing her thing, like observing the energies of the surrounding. And I'm not paying. And TJ nudges me. He's like, dude, he's getting scratched. He's wearing shorts. And all of a sudden you see these scratches start to appear from toward the upper of his ankle all the way to his knee. And it was like, holy crap. I was like, and I never had saw that before. I never saw scratches manifest or appear at that same time, right? You see them afterwards. Like there've been times you see them afterwards, where you see photos of it, but you're like, to see it actually happening was startling, but it was also quite interesting. But for some people, once again, that would be scary, right? Some people would be
Right.
frightened by that, like that appearance of the scratch happening little by little. But yeah, no, those are some interesting stories. Actually, I don't talk about those much, so it's like
Yeah.
you guys got some insider old stuff right there.
Well, I mean, that's what you go back to the roots of where, kind of where you started, and kind of drove your passion to want to pursue, down the path that you've gone. So
Did he feel it while it was happening, or he didn't?
I think he really didn't, because he didn't make any note of it, right? Like I think while it was happening, like it was beknownst to him, and then eventually, of course, we startled him because we're like, oh my
Right.
God, what's going on? But
Right.
eventually, I think of course, his mind would have told him, like,
Right.
what's that burning or
Right.
But I don't think it hit him at that point because it was manifesting. So I think eventually he probably, if we didn't make note of it, but it's not like after that we told him not to move and not to touch his leg, because it had at that point stopped manifesting. But we didn't want him to touch it because we wanted to make sure, like, maybe if it was like a skin reaction, and I wanted to observe it, like, to see if it was a scratch. But if I scratched myself right now, that's how it would appear. You have the inflammation marks with the drag in the middle, and that's what it appeared like. So it was interesting.
So it is kind of a surreal thing, I'm sure, in the moment. And then I had an experience when we had gone up to Hinsdale House and did an investigation at Hinsdale, and I did a solo in the basement, and I was asking, and I was being respectful. I was just trying to get some type of spirit interaction and stuff. Didn't really, I was down there for like 30, 45 minutes. Didn't seem to get anything. Went upstairs. I was sitting in a rocking chair in the area, if you've ever been to Hinsdale, where the apparent, exorcism took place. And I'm sitting in a rocking chair, and then I'm sitting and I'm back and forth, and I start feeling like something almost like poking me in the back. And then it started to burn a little bit. And then I'm like, so the other couple that was with us, Carmela, unfortunately wasn't able to make it with us. The other couple that I was investigating with, they're like, pull up your shirt. And then it looked like 3 little kind of finger marks going down my back or whatever. And they got pictures of it, but it was just, I'd asked for some sign of, give me a sign or whatever. So I kind of joked, and it was like surreal. It wasn't scary to me. It was almost like I kind of chuckled because I had it on video. It's like, did that just really happen? It was like, oh shit, that really happened.
Yeah.
Well, and that's usually the common thing that happens is people, you ask for a sign, feel free to touch me, and then all of a sudden you feel a stinging, and people look and you have the scratches. But to see it manifesting in front of your eyes, there's a shock value there that you say the guy didn't react because you're actually it's hard to believe it's happening.
Yeah,
you're watching it progress as it's going up his leg. I can imagine the state of mind that puts somebody in. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute, is this for real? What the? I mean, talk about a what the fuck moment.
Yeah,
it really is. Like, I can never say I've never been scratched. Like, so, like, I really haven't ever been physically touched in a way. So, like, to experience that wholeheartedly, and like some of the things these people like maybe yourselves have experienced, like, I find it fascinating, because what is going through your mind, like what does your body react like? 'Cause it's like a common thing with demonology is most people get scratched, it's evil, right? And I have always stated that it's not, because it's a form of communication. If I can't speak to you, like, my mouth is closed right now and my eyes are shut and my ears, and I'm gonna try to call at you to communicate to you, like, I'm here, like, so, like, sometimes if we can't hear them, either if it's a frequency level, or some sort of sound level, where we can't hear them, like, so they're gonna do something like, can you talk, can you speak, right? Maybe they can't, but maybe they can scratch you. And I always tell people, you have to be cautious. Like, once again, like, if that guy was getting scratched, like, and we're asking general questions, open-ended questions. It wasn't like asking questions to what could be there. It was asking the owner, but maybe they wanted to, like, make an appearance. I forgot what question I was asking, because that's how, like, like, I had to revert back and restart, kind of. and so because it threw me off, but I'm still a very like intricate guy. I still need to have my questionnaire filled out.
Right.
So, but it's like, at what point, and I wish I remembered, and I wish I could recollect that memory, is that what question was I asking when that happened, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that too about it being a form of communication. I'll give you an example. With the last private we did at Trans Allegheny, we were on the 4th floor where the creeper is, and we actually saw the shadow. We saw the creeper, and we chased it. We saw the shadow go into one of the rooms, and we walked into the rooms. And I walked into the room, and I went, "I know you're here. I saw you come in here. Where did you go?" And I literally got grabbed. I felt the cold fingers right around my wrist. And what was interesting is when I reacted, I got pissed. And it was a piss that you're not allowed to touch me. You can communicate with me, you can talk to me, but don't you touch me. And I got loud and I got stern. The funny thing is for the rest of the night, it avoided us.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, where we sensed it, we saw it, it would run. So that is a perfect example of what you just said. They're trying to communicate. So I took it as when it first grabbed a hold of my wrist. I mean, I literally felt the ice cold fingers, right?
Yeah.
When it grabbed a hold of my wrist, my first reaction is it's trying to attack me. Fuck you, I'm pissed.
Aggressive. Yeah.
Aggressive. And everybody thinks that it's an evil entity. But the minute I got dominant with it, it ran. It was like a little kid that took off at that point. So it's a form of communication.
Yeah, and and that's what happens with most people. It's a psychological reaction, right? Fight or flight. And at that point, you're like, "Don't touch me," but you've been asking them to communicate to you,
I asked them to communicate.
and maybe they can't communicate to you through a device.
Right.
So
that's their way of communicating.
But it's our body, right? We fight that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
So I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt, James, but
Go ahead.
So my experience at Hinsdale was burning. Chris had at Tala, his was a cold sensation of being grabbed. Was the gentleman, did he have a burning or no? In that moment, do you recall?
That's why I asked.
Well,
Was it like burning when he was scratching? Yeah, like Carmela, I think asked or whatever.
Well, he didn't really feel that sensation until after we brought it up. It was a burning
And then the reason I'm asking, and what's my question is, I wonder what would be the cause of burning versus a cold sensation? Because then at Penhurst, you had an experience in the boiler room of the Devon building, I think it was, where there's supposedly a gentleman down there that interacts with females.
That doesn't like females.
So what happened to you? You had an
I
experience
had to
on
put my hand up, and he said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. My veins were popping out. Like it felt like a tourniquet on my arm." What it felt like, and he's like, "Oh my God, your veins!"
Yeah.
And then we saw 3 marks, not scratches, but 3 fingerprints.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, maybe I was leaning on my bracelets. Maybe I was doing something, but we checked, and my hands weren't near each other.
Yeah. So
I didn't think so. I was just kind of like, all right, well, don't touch me again, and then I walked out.
To me, I got a simple explanation for that because I reinforced a lot of the spiritual as physical because most of what we speak to at one point was probably physical in theory, right? Yeah. Is that if you scratch yourself right now, it's going to burn. If you grab yourself and your hands are cold, it's going to be cold, right? So and a lot of times you hear when you feel like a grabbing, you got a grabbing mark. It was a cold sensation, and then if you get scratched, it's burning sensation. But it's the same thing. If I scratch myself right now, it's going to burn instead of be cold. And if I grab myself, my hands are cold, so the grip's going to be cold. But and then you feel that imprint, and then it might how your body reacts to it. But yeah, it's a simple explanation. But as far as both locations, great locations. I love Dan. I love Copperhead, Mr. Greg. I've known them for years. But great locations. I've been to both. I know you asked me if I've been to Hinsdale. I've been going to Hinsdale before Daniel Clace ever owned that house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I love that. I love that spot. Been there so many times. I've seen people have good and bad moments. I think that house is definitely bipolar. so it reacts differently to different people and how you go in there.
I
But
like that analogy.
I'd be
But-
curious. I want to get her up there, but I don't know if she's willing to go.
but I've had great experiences there, and I not necessarily I can't say I've had a bad experience. I really don't ever have bad experiences, and then knock on wood, I'm not challenging anything, but I usually have a great experience. And so, but like my good friend Tim Miley, who runs Photograph for Pooches, he had a very traumatic experience there, and it was rough on him. He goes back now, but it was that was a hard moment. I've seen people really fall apart in there because whatever's there or the emotions there tethered to their emotions, and it just rips it out. And I do want to correct a notion on that, Todd, a piece of history, because it does relate to demonology, is that there was an exorcism done on the property of the Hinsdale home.
Right.
So it wasn't just one room, because when
Right,
you do an
right.
exorcism, it's in
Yeah.
every room. So I
Right.
want to make note of that.
Yep,
The history
yep.
there has been
Yep.
tarnished, where people get confused with the exorcism being just over
yeah,
a
yeah.
person. You have the
Right.
solemn rite and the minor rite. The minor rite's done over a house for demonic infestation, and then for demonic possession is the solemn rite, which is over a
Right.
person.
So, James, you touched base on a very good point: perception. So we talk about your psychological degree, your psychological.
Psychology degree, yes.
There you go. There's my one word for the night. There we go. We're done.
Dude, I mess up words all the time, so don't worry.
So we talk about your psychology degree mixed with your demonology and your background of paranormal investigating.
Yeah.
Perception is huge in psychology. How do you relate that into your investigations on top of into the demonology portion of investigations that in relation to all three?
Go read my book, people. I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm just kidding.
That's all you get. Fucker.
Yeah.
Read the book.
That's all you get, dudes and dudettes. Get the book now.
Just tell us a little bit. Give us a teaser.
Give us a teaser.
But no, and really, so that's really actually truthfully what the book talks about. As I tell, I kind of throw a shameless plug towards my book for a second, but I believe it answers your question. Is my book focuses on the middle ground between skepticism and belief, right? So I try to take that approach in all my cases. So I try to look at my understanding of my psychology, my mental health, my inner self. Like, do I have shadow work to do? Do I have introspection to do? And then I also look at it through that perspective of as well through the client, like what's going on in your life, what traumas or what ripple effects in your life could be happening now that could be either reinforcing paranormal phenomena or making it, or even like it not existing, right? I think one of the things that fascinates me is I think we lump things into ghost or psychology, and I think that it's not less interesting to say that if somebody is traumatic, that that they're able to make something as well, like an archetype, right? Or a tulpa or egregore. So I think that's fascinating as well, and I've done actual study on that in-field experiment. But the psychology of it's important, especially with what I do, because what I've seen in my cases that really had demonic activity, trauma was prevalent in those cases, and so it's very important to understand. Even in a normal paranormal investigation, if you're a data collector, or even just are interested in seeing how spirits react to people. And I think you could take the same person where one night it is dead, just yourself, it's dead. The next night you go there, it's active. And then you can start looking at the natural explanations, like what's the moon phase? What's the humidity? Is there any EMF in the air from static electricity? Like there's certain things you can look at, but you can also look at what was your mentality at? Did you have a bad day at work the day before, and you kind of wanted to shut things out, right? You even though you were there to communicate, things weren't communicating to you because you kind of were letting off that bioelectric field that we actually physically do have. We do have a bioelectrical field, and we do emit our emotions. And so maybe these spirits felt like, okay, I'm not gonna talk to this. Next day you go there, you're jubilant and you're excited and happy, and you want to be there to actually talk and have a conversation. So I think that is the psychology of it too, which is important to look at when you're doing an investigation, specifically and especially in more of a person's home, because you don't want to be bringing your baggage into somebody's life. And I think that's all with a lot of the haunted locations that people flock to. That's what a lot of it is. There is people's baggage that they leave behind, and that emotion tethers there as well with the tethering of history of different emotions and deaths and mysteries that have occurred before that. And it's a collaboration of a bunch of different things. So I think that all has to deal with the psychology of it. It's just how you have to look at it and observe it in that form. Like, you really have to kind of get through a different lens, but it really all flows together. But I think I answered your question. But yeah.
It was a nice answer, and it makes me. I'm definitely gonna get the book and read it.
Nice segue to your book.
Yeah, nice segue into your book. But and it's all relative to energy. And I've said this before. The energy cannot be destroyed, nor can it be creative. And the energy that we bring in is it's like going to a party versus going to a funeral. Sorry, not to bring up a funeral at this point, but it's like going to a party or going to a funeral. What kind of energy is in the room when you walk in? What kind of energy was there before you came into the room? And what energy do you bring to the room? Because energy moves in a rhythm, right? And it does, and we've proved it with, synchronicity. There you go. Yeah. Right. And the energy you bring in the room can change how the rhythm of the energy goes, right? And if there's negative energy there to begin with, and then you bring more negative energy in, all it does is amplify the energy that was there to begin with, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it really is at the end of the day that simple.
Yep, it is. It's actually very simple, and people disregard that. They think that if there's something negative there, it's only going to get worse when we get there because there's more energy in the room. Well, no. Negative energy in the room can actually subside itself if you bring a positive energy into it to contradict it. Right?
And that's how I approach many of my personal cases. Is like, I don't go there kicking down doors, having rock salt shotguns, and saying, "Hey, I'm here to take care of your demons," nor do I ever really make it about the paranormal when I'm there. Like, I do my thing and I ask them the questions, but I try to be, like I said, jubilant. I try to bring enjoyment into it. Like, I know they're scared or they're confused. I try to make them laugh. I try to be friendly with them, and there you go. There's that reinforcement. There's that positivity. I'm bringing that. I'm not making it all about that situation, even though that's what I am there and I have to touch upon about it. But I try to really draw away from that, because, when they're in, once again, as much as I hate to make the victim the reason is, but when you're fearful of something in your own house, fear is a negative emotion. So when they're in fear and they're thinking about it, even though there's somebody there, you're still feeding into what could be resonating there, or afflicting that family. So yeah, once you cancel that, kind of tether between them and the location, they start to distance themselves away from it and dispel what is there through our, of course, invocation, as well, of course, our mediation, as myself. But yeah, no, it's definitely, it's like, a great analogy of it is, Metallica is one of my favorite bands, but their song "Fight Fire with Fire," right? And you can either fight fire with fire, you can put fire out with water, or you can even let the fire just simmer itself, and hopefully gets put out eventually. But those are really the ways you can look at it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is.
So James,
yes,
how many cases do you typically get called to? Say a year's time span.
That's a hard one. Yeah.
And then the second part to that is what cases you have been called to, or during a year. How many are? I'm sure it's just more than one session. I'm sure there's multiple sessions, visits, I would assume. So could you kind of touch on that a little bit, please?
Yeah. So I've done tons of cases. The years have changed. Years ago, I would say I was a lot busier than I am now, but there's also a lot more options to me now, or
Right.
supposed options, in my opinion. And I give
Right.
respect to everybody, but supposed options. So I see a lot less cases now because I don't try to like I do the podcast because I love conversating.
Right.
I love talking about theories, and I love speaking about this topic. But um, I don't really try. I do the lectures and stuff, but I don't overly promote myself. So I'm not seen as much, and so my cases have gone up and down based upon that popularity, or like what I had going on things in my life. Of course, when I was noting people and saying blessings over people at the Warrens house during one of the Annabelle releases. Like, yeah, more people started calling me, and most of the time, unfortunately, it's not what they're reaching out for. And you kind of get experienced with that through being burnt so many times and giving your heart out and putting your heart on your sleeve and trying to be a hero for everybody, and you really understand to see where people come and how you dissect it. I have a very can be tedious, short, or long depending on the scenario, but I have a process to get me physically involved. The only time I ever get involved right away, as long as it's close enough to get there in a timely manner, is with kids. But sometimes it could be email a questionnaire, an on a phone interview, and then an in-person interview that same day, depending on what's going on. Everything can be done in that day with the interview and observing. Sometimes you have to go back, but once again, it's relatively based upon the distance, right?
Right.
There have been many times where continuously through the phone for months or years occurs where because I can't physically get out there like every day. I don't have a magic helicopter or a magic carpet, and so
You can borrow mine.
yeah, yeah. Call me James Aladdin, but so yeah. As far as the length of cases, like it can definitely depend on the situations, right? I think the most time I've ever done one specific case is probably a dozen or so times over a couple of years. So that's probably the longest one. But as far as how many have equated to demons, I like to say anywhere between 5 to 7 cases truly were demonic out of. I'd have to say the hundreds, and I don't have a number. It's hard. It's not like I have a Rolodex. Case number 1, case number 2, case number. But I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases, out of 5 to 7 of those were what I would call demonic. But don't get me wrong, there are probably cases that people would have dealt with that might have equated it to such, but I have a really hard it's every fiber in my body hates calling things demons. So like I really, to use that word, it really has to blow me out of the water, and it really has to, and not all the times does this happen, but there are things in those cases that impact you greatly, that leans you that way. There's also a physical reaction as well that happens once you hit the threshold of the door. I don't care whoever you are, and I've experienced this with other people. You feel it. You don't have to be called a medium or psychic clairvoyant. You can feel it once you walk through the threshold. It's
The nausea in the stomach.
it's unnerving. Yeah, it's unnerving, and but I don't know where I was going on that without a tangent. But yeah, basically, it can be days, it could be one day, it could be months, it could be years. And as far as the process, it depends, and it depends on how long it can be. One thing that I look at that's an automatic red flag is that if they say they are possessed as an individual, if they say they are possessed, automatically I say you have to get a psychological assessment. If you have a therapist or psychologist that you are currently seeing, you need to break HIPAA. Let me speak to them. You got to tell them the situation. Like, you got to be honest. If your therapist or psychologist
If you're
doesn't
serious
know
about it, right.
that you're having paranormal phenomena, and I know sometimes people are worried about the taboo of it, the stigma. And don't get me wrong, some people will look at you with 5 heads, even in psychology still. But you have to be honest. And you have to bring it up to them, because if at that point, if they thought you were a normal human being and then you're bringing this up to them, maybe they will observe it differently. So,
Right.
but I will say that if you believe you're dealing with possession, and how do you know? Because most true cases, and the cases that I've done that were possession, a family member or acquaintance called me to get involved, and
Right.
the family got me involved, and that's how I was able to see this person under this affliction. They didn't have bail coursing through them, and then I'm gonna call James and Neo to rip his soul out.
Right.
You
Right.
know, the family called me, and they got me involved. So, there's certain things that are that you look at as well that dictate how you get
And
involved.
we don't live in a world of Constantine, right? We
Man.
the world's nasty enough as it is, and people have enough trauma in their life as it is, that it can be they can feel like they're possessed, and it just could be psychological, it could be turmoil, it could be stress, it could be anxiety, it could be a ton of different things
It could be all of those things.
Yeah, all of them combined into one, right?
Yeah, and it could be all of those things. Like, I also tell people too, is like, we were kind of speaking about it. I don't know if it was on the show or before the show, but about a powerful mind impacting your physical health. But you have to have a good physical health, good mental health, and you have to have good spiritual health as well, as intertwined with those things.
Right.
So,
I have a thyroid issue, and I'll tell you that's multiple personalities right there. I become evil, but then I can be really nice. It depends.
And that's just a thyroid issue. So,
well, you know what? If you watch some of the political posts that you see on Facebook nowadays, you'd swear to God some of those people are possessed.
I don't do that.
We don't do that. We stay
I don't
clear of
wanna
that
know
stuff.
political crap.
So Mary Beth has a question for you, James. Have you ever worked with the Foreman brothers at all?
Who the hell in the world is the Foreman brothers? I don't know.
There's 4 of them. They're all brothers.
We'll have to look them up. And I was going to look up. And then Ron said you could borrow my sleigh. I forgot I did have that sleigh. Not that I'm trying to keep.
It's a show.
Oh, is it?
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe. What is going on here? I hear something in the background.
We find Chris. I'm proud of you. Listen, you get a roaring ovation because we remembered that we have little doodads.
We've got some 1950s little additions in. You can do applause. You can do laughing. You can do the siren. The police are showing up.
I didn't do it.
They're on Netflix.
Evidently, they're on Netflix.
So this is a good question, because with you being in the psychology portion of it and into the demonology, especially with Carl Johnson, do you believe that physical objects can be possessed?
No, definitely not. The objects can be have bindings to, or have attachments. So the idea of it is that why an object can't be possessed is because it doesn't have a consciousness. And consciousness in an item can't be manipulated because it doesn't exist. What it can do is be manipulated. If I imagine I am invisible right now, and you just see this floating and then thrown at me, you could say the object is possessed or haunted, of course, but it's really an obstacle. Now, if the object, like a entity, got binded to an item, then maybe the object can move. But in reality, how I would think of it is, if you just put a rope around me and rope around me over and over and over and over again, and rope me to this chair where I was stuck hogtied to it, That's how I would think of like a entity being binded to an object. So in reality, they're not physical. So maybe they can move the object. Maybe it can torment and terrorize the people there, right? So not to elongate that conversation, but no, objects cannot, or
Right.
objects cannot be possessed.
So I have to ask the question about our friend in Key West at the
Robert
museum.
the Doll?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Robert the Doll would have an attached item. It would be attachment. It would be a thing
So,
bind to it.
So Ron and Lourdes and we have mutual friends from Nine Live Paranormal. They had gone down there. They had done a investigation, and she ended up getting, I think it was
Blood vessel pop.
a blood vessel in the eye popped, got a flat tire.
Dog got sick.
So that's why it was like, it was just, and this was all after they had done the investigation there. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean the item's possessed, though.
I know, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
saying
just for not saying you, but for other people,
Right.
because some people would think, "Oh, the item's possessed." If they heard that story, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I
Y'all
agree.
know my theory on Robert the Doll.
See, I left with that.
Should I say it? Should I say it?
Another left with that conversation when I asked it.
Yeah. Well, I am. There are a lot of things that happen in this world that people don't like to take credit for or accountability for. Now, the story of Robert the Doll starts with this famous little rich, or not famous, but this little rich kid that gets the doll, and all this crap happens in the house, and he keeps blaming the doll. And then, just like mythological theories or urban legends start, all of a sudden the doll's possessed. It's causing all this issue. It continues on. The more people think that, the more they're going to connect everything that negatively happens. And I'm not discounting anybody from Robert the Doll having bad experiences after they've seen him, but I can tell you, Audra and I have both been to see Robert the Doll, and not one bad thing happened to me after. Of course, I did not acknowledge Robert because, in my opinion, is if there is an attachment to it, the minute you acknowledge it and ask for permission, you've acknowledged its existence. You give it power. So I didn't acknowledge anything. I just, there's Robert the Doll. Am I going to take his picture without asking permission? No, I'm not going to take his picture, but I'm not going to ask permission either.
Right.
My theory is on Robert the Doll, and this is just me. I mean, I haven't had any bad experiences, and we've seen him up close. I mean, I was within 6 inches of the damn thing. We've never had any bad experiences. I think it's just it is a mental condition that people have placed on Robert the Doll because one little rich asshole was a little bastard and caused all kinds of problems and kept blaming the doll so he wouldn't get in trouble. That's just my theory.
Yeah. No, and it's not. Hey, I believe in that because that's a lot of what psychokinetic energy is, or psychic tantrums, or a lot of what parapsychology looks into. But Tulpa, like I said, the Tulpa is the poltergeist. But what I still find it fascinating that this rich boy put so much perception into something that if something did manifest from that, and this is where like something like the Phillips experiment would be key, where a bunch of laboratory scientists created this being called Philip and started communicating to them and moving objects. But I still find that fascinating because if this perception is evil, right? And maybe it's not an evil spirit, but let's call it evil intelligence or artificial intelligence, right? Because that's a metaphysical term before it was ever scientific, science fictional. But you create this artificial intelligence that if you think of it to be negative, and other people do, that doesn't equate that it can't ever be, or denote that it can ever be evil. Maybe it is evil, but not in the realm of like a demonic being. It can still do a lot of the things that it has been believed to do, and that's why a lot of people said with imaginary friends. Maybe they were ever imaginary friends. Maybe because we were kids, our pineal gland is not fully developed, so we're not releasing melatonin to relax us. We're in an open state. We are also very imaginative and gullible. So maybe we are speaking to other things, and theory. We are speaking to vibrations or things on the other side of the veil, and that's why we can feel it, touch it, and so if that kid can create that imagination and it can permeate throughout time, that's still paranormal and interesting. And I've had, like I said, once again, it's like, like I said, the Hinsdale house is bipolar. Items can be bipolar too, right? They could be good some days, bad days. Like it's whatever. Because that if you talk about like houses, um, being like the entity, right? And I believe in a lot of that. That what is tethered there, it creates a bunch of stuff and brewed it into location, and you experiences of all different levels, and how you react to it or how you resonate with it is what brings forth out that house. If you come there negatively, it'll spit you out.
Right.
If you go to there positively, you'll have a great experience. Like I said, I like how I like what you said is if you didn't recognize it, you didn't like pay attention to it, you didn't open that line of communication. So what was it to do more than to just say, hey, I ain't gonna he's not bothering me, he's not looking at me or speaking evil to me, I'm not gonna do anything to him. So I still find that all fascinating. It's interesting, but once again, it's like I tell people in demonic cases, you know, there's different levels of respect. Like, do I love a demon or evil spirit? Do I want to be best friends with them? No, but you have to have a respect of them, that you
Right.
know that you aren't better than them, but they need to get the hell out of there. So you have to have that, like, you can't focus on it. They can't be your enemy. You can't want to kill them. You have to be there and defeat them with positivity. But it's a respect thing, right? It's like you didn't acknowledge it. So if you're not there acknowledging it, but ridding of it, then it's like a good physical reference to that is if you had a rat infestation, you could like be like, "Come here, rat," and then you have a pet rat, and that then you have the issue there all the time. Well,
Right.
just not exterminate. Put the things down, not acknowledge them. They're exterminated, right?
Right.
So it's it's that because I find it all fascinating. Robert the Doll's interesting. Annabelle, I've been around as well. I find it all interesting how people have different levels of experiences between items and also locations and even with people,
Well, and just it's just my theory. It's all relative to the energy conversation we had a little while ago. You spend Robert the Doll, for example, hundreds of years of negative experiences you're placing against the doll. Enough negative energy can create a negative energy that can produce negative results, right? As you
Yeah.
you walk away thinking, hey, this doll is negative, it's been negative for hundreds of years, look with the history behind the doll, I just had an experience with it, I acknowledge it, now all these negative things are happening to me. It could be the energy being produced off the doll because of the years of negative energy around it,
Yeah.
when ultimately, if you don't recognize that energy, then that energy doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
It's my theory. Yeah.
And there's actually a famous location that's known for that. I work right in Fall River. I can throw a stone at Lizzie Borden's bed and breakfast.
Oh wow.
And my company used to service the HVAC systems, but I always tell people, like, for me it's not. I think it's overhyped. So maybe I shouldn't say that on there. But
agree with you.
Lizzie Borden's bed and breakfast. A lot of people say they have chaotic energy there, like it's chaos, right? And let's imagine then what actually of course occurred there. It'd be like makes sense, right? I've had the pleasure to go to Maplecroft, which is her, adult, which was her adult home, and a lot of people have said, and not my experience, I love Maplecroft. I did actually, we did have some cool stuff, but but at Maplecroft, it was a peaceful kind of energy or peaceful landscape, right? And people have said that it's the same thing, and so you can look at it that it also depends on what has happened there, right? And how, like I've always said, spirits recognize your trauma, right? If you're dealing with depression and they kill themselves, right? Maybe that spirit will resonate towards you and try to communicate to you. But also, a negative spirit might use that against you,
Right.
and like because depression is always depression. Like I was telling my significant other this today because she battles with the depression, and I have too, But I was like, depression is living in the past, and anxiety is living in the future, and you deal with both because you can't stay in the present. And so the the demons or evil spirits will usually pass against you, and that will affect you. So it's fascinating how all of it works. And I think Lord said something about cognitive neighborhood, which is an interesting thing as well, because if you believe in like the collective unconsciousness, collective consciousness, we also have a lot of things that intertwine us in the neighborhood of our cultures or our humanity, and that has things to do with how certain things react to us as well. That's why you have generational curses and family tree curses and stuff like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
So I do have one quick question. I know we're a little bit over what we normally go, Chris. But you did travel. I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Go ahead and fire me. We went over.
So your trip to Romania and the tour of Dracula's roots. So
yeah, I really want to hear this. Yeah.
Nah, but there's a cool place that we showed you. In Doylestown, about 30 minutes from us, maybe 40, is I don't know if you've heard of
Vamp Museum.
The Vampa Museum.
Yeah.
It's all about vampires, and we had the owner on our show a few months back. He's actually gone and studied into the Vatican, and it's more about the history behind it, and it's an interesting place. You should look it up, and I think you would find it interesting if it's dealing with faith and good and evil. That's what it's kind of the aspect of the museum, the Vampa Museum. Not so much it is stigmatized to Dracula and vampires and stuff, but I think you would find it interesting. Yeah, it's cool. If you ever get the chance to go, it's a cool place.
It's like a room of Dracula and vampires. It's only that first room you walk into, but there's many things beyond that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I probably would love. I believe I've heard of it. I love one of the reasons I went to Romania, beside of course this book that I loved so much.
Oh, that is fantastic.
But and of course the movie with Gary Oldman. But one of the things about Romania, outside of the actual creation of the way we look at vampires now, is that they have the earliest you could say Slavic or romantic, because it's really a lot of mixture of what Romania is, and you have Turkey below you, you have Europe side, and you have Russia above you, or Ukraine and then Russia. But is they have the legend of the Strigoi, which is really the creation point of vampires in human culture. So yeah, I would probably love it. A lot of people don't realize vampires and demonology have a lot in common. Vampires are a demon technically, because they were once living and now they're technically dead and immortal. And there's a lot to, even the Inquisition was famous for witch killing, vampire killing, werewolf killing, and most inquisitors were demonologists. And so a lot of people don't realize that Salem witch trials, one of the main villains was a demonologist. So it's like demonology employs on that, and I loved it so much. Like we got to Dracula's castle is great, but one of the places I wanted to go to was Hoia Baca Forest. It's known as the suicide forest in Romania, second most known forest in the world. But that was cool because that has had Strigoi legends, and people will tell you, like that culture still will tell you, do not go up there at night. You will go disappearing. Really? It's most likely the bears of Romania, but it's probably the Strigoi.
Right.
Yeah. You had.
But also one more shout out.
Okay, I'll give you plenty of time. Come on,
give you plenty of time. Chris gives you all kinds of time.
I will also talk about in my second book coming out in 2026, The History of Demonology. I sort of touch upon that as well. Don't focus on it too much, but I do focus on a little bit of it. But yeah, because my History of Demonology book goes from Mesopotamia, so Akkadian, to all the way to modern times.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's also another short read too. It's like probably the same length as this first book, but you know, it punches you in the face with the information you need.
Awesome.
That's on Amazon.
Where are we gonna find that one?
History of the Demonology. I want to say Amazon, but I'm hoping with enough. You know, it's not about the money. I really don't care about it, to be honest. It's not like I'm rich or anything. But it just I just didn't write the book about money. But if more people buy it and pick it up, I've comped a lot of copies too because I want people to read it. It depends if how many this does, and maybe I can get a publisher because it's really strenuous. I'm a perfectionist, so to like I've read a lot of, and I'm not saying anything bad because I think I respect anybody that is able to write a book and put fingertips to a keyboard and write. But I'm a perfectionist, and it was so hard because it's like I was so. I didn't want to put something out that I read where it was a jumbled mess and
Right.
it was so hard to read, and you know, and I'm grammar and spelling and all that stuff. So it's like it's hard. So I'm hoping I can get somebody that will do all the processes for me, but we'll see. But most likely Amazon.
So, and I was just getting ready to say this. I didn't know if you had talked to Ron as also being an author. I know right beyond the fray. I think that's who they.
He tried to get me the first book. I was just a little impatient because I've been, you know, I was sitting on it and I had to fire it off. Like I stepped away from the paranormal for a while, and you know, in that 10-month period of time is when I wrote 2 books and also was a parent of 2 kids and also went to for masters. I'm a crazy person actually, so when I came back and I felt like I could start getting a little bit more involved and doing it a little again, you know, I had my head on my shoulders. I was like, I'm gonna release these books. So I had the first one. I was gonna wait for Ron, but I said I could republish it through them. But no, I just wanted people to read it. I hate holding secrets. I hate it. I hate it.
We don't like for like presents and Christmas time. We don't like holding secrets.
It's terrible. I don't know how people love it and find it exciting.
No, I'm the same way. I'll tell the truth even if it makes me look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, like
it's hard for me to internalize. I just everything spills out. It's just the way.
I'm about to work with Victoria J. We're launching a podcast, different kind of podcast, not every week, once a month, kind of like a topic oriented, like long-term discussion, maybe bring guests in here or there. But you know, we just announced that we were both giddy about it. But she's known as the demon folklorist. She has a master's in folklore, but her focus is on demons, which is, you know, very bloodied with folklore, of course, but is that we have a podcast launching in 2026, probably mid 2026, called The 9 Gates podcast, and you know, each month will be a specific topic. You know, we'll bring like a guest somewhat for the second hour talking about the topic, and then, you know, it's gonna be like knowledge. It's gonna be like a seminar in each podcast, so it's going to be different. You know, we're not going to be interviewing guests. We're going to just like dig into topics. The guest will be kind of like the lettuce and tomatoes of a sandwich.
Great comparison. I like that.
But you guys don't know that joke. You guys don't know the joke. But yeah. So no, it's but that's coming out in 2026 too. So it was like it was so giddy. So probably the History of Demonology will probably come out May 2026 because it's regardless, publisher or not, that's what I want, because the podcast will probably come out 6/6/26, the upcoming year.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
26, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
So you cannot not drop a show like that.
Yeah.
Not on
You have
not
to.
that day. Come
Yeah, you
on, you
have to.
have to. So
Absolutely.
Okay, James, we've rolled over quite a bit longer. One last chance. Give us all your plugs right here, right now. Where can people find you? Where can people find your books? What you got coming up? Do it all over again. Get it out
yes.
there.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook, James Annitto. It's of course the name attached to my floating head. And you can also go to jamesannitto.com, or if it's simpler, demonology.org, which would link to all my stuff as well. That'll have my email, Facebook, so you can find me that way. You can buy my book on Amazon. There's a link on my website as well under the book tab. And I have a second book coming out in 2026, and a podcast coming out in 2026. So make sure you go tune in.
Awesome.
Awesome.
James, once again, brother, you are always a phenomenal guest. You're a phenomenal person, and you're a phenomenal wealth of knowledge when it comes to the paranormal and everything involved in that.
Amazing.
Completely amazing, brother. We appreciate you having you on the show. Thank you again. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Guys, remember, make sure you look up James's books, get it on Amazon. He's got one coming out. Make sure you tune into his podcast. Hopefully coming out on 6/6.
26.
26.
6/6/26. I'm just kidding.
6'7".
Oh, God.
We've got about anyway.
But guys,
I had to do it, guys. I'm sorry.
had
That's
to.
bad
That was
now,
true.
right?
I just learned who he was.
Who, 6'7"?
The guy that, oh, you talking about the song?
Or no, what's the 6'7"? What's the whole 6'7" thing? I've seen
Look
it,
it up.
but I don't know
It's
what it is.
it's
It
stupid.
doesn't have to do with that
Stupid,
part
look it
of the
up.
song?
Stupid.
They're not really
It's
answering.
something that kids are into right now. It's too stupid to go.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
But all right, guys, remember, guys, if you want to make an impact in the paranormal world, you want to make an impact in life, not only do you have to go and you have to get involved with James, you have to deep delve into the mind of the man, the matter, the myth sitting here in front of us. You got to go out and you got to make an impact on life. You got to make an impression that lasts for years to come, like Todd did this weekend, like James is doing in the paranormal, like James is doing in psychology and demonology, and like my father did 50 years ago, that still makes an impact to today. But most of all, guys, in order to do all that, you got to stay haunted. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Night.